Okay, so it was the early 2000s, and I was a bartender in New York City. I was bartending at a craft beer bar in Hell's Kitchen called the Collins Bar. It was a beautiful fall Saturday night, and I was pulling a double. Now, what that meant for me was that I worked the day shift for 9 hours, and then I jumped to the other side of the bar, and I drank for the next 8 hours. So one of the things that I liked to do when I was doing my second shift is I liked to hang out with some of the dart players. And one of my favorite dart players was Eddie. And Eddie was a beautiful, large man who had very gentle hands. Before he would throw his first dart, he would take his glove and put it on. He would never throw a dart without a glove. And then he'd start and throw the darts. And he only rivaled James O'Brien for being the best dart thrower in the bar. So one night we were hanging out and just chatting. He might have been telling me about how his mom taught him how to knit when he was a child, and that he still had a very serious knitting practice that he used for stress reduction. But we're sitting there chatting, and an a cappella group had stopped in front of the Collins Bar. The door was open, and you could hear the song Stand By Me come in, and the song was mixing with the jukebox and the loud bar, but you could clearly hear it was Stand By Me. And all of a sudden, Eddie's face changes, and he just looked at me and said, "Come with me." So he grabbed me, we went out there, and at that time they had kind of gathered a small circle from passersby and smokers who were out on the sidewalk. They were doing this for tips. So Eddie's standing there, and he's just fixated on one of these guys. The song ends, and he makes a beeline for him. And I stay where I'm at. And he just gives him a big hug. And then they talk a minute, and it's time for the a cappella group to move on, to go to their next spot to make more tips. So Eddie comes back to me and says, "That was my dad." And I thought, "Your dad?" He never told me anything about his dad, so I really didn't know. And then he said, "It's the first time I've seen him in 5 years." And I'm floored. And I just said, "Well, how did you know to come out? How did you know he was going to be here?" And Eddie said, "I recognized his voice." And I was flabbergasted because, like I said, it was a loud bar, the jukebox was going, and Eddie heard his dad's voice, who he hadn't seen or heard in 5 years, and knew that was him. And so I asked him, I said, "Did you get his number, his information, so that you can stay in contact?" And he said, "No." He said, "I learned a while ago with my dad that it's best if you get a hug, you have a conversation, and you hope that there's a next time."